Hi, welcome to Lights Camera Author. This is where we talk with authors and also people who write about show business. And I have with me tonight, her name is Susan Alexxis Steele, and she is a fellow podcaster. You may have heard her on Spotify. You're also on Spreaker, aren't you, Alexis?
Yes, Spreaker, it's iHeartRadio, Spotify, Deezer, Google, all over the place.
And that's exactly the way this is, way mine is. It's all
Mhm.
over the place. And you're also, I believe, on iHeart. Are you on iHeart
Yes,
Radio?
iHeartRadio, yes.
And if people want to find your show, it's called Music 101.
Right. Actually, yeah. I don't if you find me on Facebook, you have to use my first name, but really and the everything in the entertainment and my legal DBA goes by my middle name and my last name. So a lot of people will only know me as Alexxis Steele because that's usually in the business world. That's the only name I use.
I
But on
see.
Facebook, it's like Susan Alexis Steele. But and other social media, it would be either Alexis Steele under Steel Notes Magazine. I have a lot of Facebook pages and I'm all over the place. I have one for Steel Books, Steel Notes Magazine, Steel Waves Radio, so I have a lot of different pages, plus Instagram. I do have a Twitter too, but I really don't spend too much time on Twitter.
And I said, I know you spend time on Facebook because that's how we met.
Yes. Facebook, yeah, that's my biggie. I'm on there the most. Yeah.
Now
That's where I have a lot of Facebook pages.
you've been around music since a very young age.
Yes.
Your father, was he with a, I think with the Harry James Orchestra he was with?
Yes, my dad actually took over for Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra was with Harry James for a year, and then my dad took over for him, and then he also was with Harry James for a year, and then decided that he just wanted to go back to doing his own thing with his own band.
I see. So, but yeah, he performed with a lot of big stars. Like you said, he took
Yes.
over for Frank Sinatra.
Hmm.
And you might as well start out on top, right? Replacing the biggest name there is in
Right.
music.
Yeah.
How did you get involved in music?
Well, through my dad. Like I said, when I was 3 years old, my dad started me singing off. I won my first contest doing Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini. That will date me because I don't think this generation knows what that song is. But that's how I got my start. And when I was 9 years old, my dad started having me play with his band. Well, I should say sing more or less with his band. I was doing Chicago, I was doing Stevie Wonder. I went on to doing, other songs as well. And by the time I was 11, he hooked me up with my first band, 21-year-old musicians from Philadelphia. We were originally from North Philadelphia, but living in the suburbs, which was Southampton on the border of Warminster and Bucks County. And at that time, he started to teaching me a little bit like how to play drums because my dad was a drummer and a singer. So he had a Red Sparkle Slingerland set and he taught me how to play on that. It was just a three-piece, so nothing crazy, just basically how to hold the sticks, how to, he was doing Wipeout and, and showing me how to do that. And, just basically, being able to keep a beat. So that started,
And then
into,
you got your band, like you said, your first band at age 12, 13. Is that what it
well,
was?
no, that I was 11 when he hooked me up with my own band. He actually started putting me in other contests, like for Al Albert Showcase and stuff like that, which was based out of Philadelphia. And when I was 13, I won a contest singing Me and Bobby McGee.
Ah, the old,
Won some
yeah.
other ones singing Carole King and Carly Simon, It's Too Late, and So Far Away. I did those songs. And then actually, when I was uh, later that year, he had me auditioning for Nine-Piece Blues Band out of Philadelphia. But then I didn't wind up going with that. And then the following year, when I was 15, I went on to a big audition, which I later found out was to be a backup singer for rock band Chicago.
Oh,
I
wow.
didn't find out that until years later that that was the band that I auditioned for. But the thing of it is, I couldn't do it because my dad was away. He was always traveling, and it was just me and my mom, and I would have had to go on tour, so, and I would have had to quit school.
Now, now, big band era sound and with rock music in Chicago. Now, see, I grew up with Chicago from the 1980s, and that was with Peter Cetera and that
Mhm.
group. But back before Peter Cetera joined, they were more of a folk rock, would you say,
Yes.
a folk rock combo. Um, how did that lead into, I guess, steel music, steel guitar music?
Well,
That
no. So, over the course of the years, was doing music up until I was about uh 16, because I got hooked up with my first husband, who actually was in my band. This I had a band when I was 15. A friend of ours, Jay, he put us together, and we had a three-piece band. Anyway, I wound up getting married at 16. I got married young, and I was out of music from 1974 into 1983.
wow,
So
that
when I got hooked up with my second husband, that's when I got back into music. And at that point, we had moved out, because prior to that, I was living in Levittown in Bucks County with my first husband. And then we moved to Allentown. That's when we moved to Allentown in 1978. So in 1983 is when I started doing music again in the Lehigh Valley. And so I've had a succession of bands since 1983. But anyway, so in between that, I started an entertainment agency. Started putting it together. I'd say 2010, and then 2011 was really when it started happening. And that was Steel Entertainment Records. I had an indie record label, and we have some artists under the record label, Steel Records. We were an LLC, we were licensed and bonded, so it was a big deal. The state came down and did tests with everybody, which they all, had high scores. So we were running it. Actually, my office was run out of Crocodile Rock, which was a very big venue in the Lehigh Valley, Allentown area. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before, but at that point, that's where all of the major recording artists, rock artists would come to play. And I was real good friends with the owner, Joe Clark. So we had our office was based out of there. So I had that. I was booking tribute bands. I was booking some nationals and stuff like that. And then booking, is kind of a tricky situation, because, I'm booking people all across from the US and some from abroad. And you have a lot of different things that there is to deal with, plus the record label. So at that time, I decided that I wanted to go more into media, and decided to um, do radio, and then eventually magazine. So in 2012 is when I started doing radio. I started out on Rock Out Radio, and the first person I interviewed was Tracy Guns from LA Guns.
oh,
So I
okay.
was hooked up with agents and stuff like that, and publicists, and so that's how I got involved with that. And back then, our way of doing our interviews was like really antiquated compared to how it is now. But so that was in like I said, 2011 to 2012 it really started. And then 2014 is when I launched Steel Notes magazine. Steelnotesmagazine.com is available all the time, digitally online. You can go to the website. And at one time I was doing putting out an actual magazine issue every month, but over the last several years, and especially like when the COVID and stuff like that happened, after that, I decided to go quarterly. So now I'm only putting out quarterly issues of the actual magazine. But in between that, I had gotten, so I was in music, backtracking a little bit. My band started in 1983 and up until 2009. So I had taken a break like 2009 to, like, I'd say after 2009, maybe to 2011, 2012, then started going back into doing music again. And, because the thing of it is, as being like, the one person that's basically running the show as, the owner and the head of everything, it's a lot of work, so, something has to give somewhere sometimes when you're doing like 10 different projects at once.
Exactly.
So, 2012, then from 2012, I did not play again until 2019. And so I had another band. We played for a while, and then COVID hit. So then after that, I really did not do anything except for some shows that we did, like whether there was a benefit or also a memorial show for one of my or I'm sorry, I did do a little bit in 2018, 2019, 2020, into early maybe 2021 with the band Rocket. Our guitar player died from COVID, actually. Yeah, so after that, then we didn't play. I did perform at his memorial at the Shanty, which is a local venue that we do a lot at. And I just continued with what I was doing with the radio, doing my interviews. And it's actually because of COVID, after that, my producer and I decided, well, we've got to do stuff. We're not doing or in, live interviews, obviously, because if I didn't go to Chiller Theater Expo, I don't know if you're familiar with that, where a lot of musicians and actors and everybody, were at, where I would do some live interviews. So we decided to start doing the Zoom interviews like we're doing now. And that's how the Music 101 with Alexxis Steele on YouTube came about. And then, to iHeartRadio. iHeartRadio and Spotify is only the audio portion. And that's been running since 2012, when it first started with Spreaker and then on to iHeart and Spotify. But, so I continue to do my interviews with famous musicians and artists and authors and actors and stuff like that. So
You
that's what I'm
started.
doing. And then from that, this year actually, well, for you, I started actually, let me backtrack again. I started writing in 2011 and 2012, and I started an autobiography and also a memoir. And then I started writing a book about my dogs because I've always had a lot of dogs, and Bichon, Frise, which are the white, fluffy, hypoallergenic dogs. And I never finished the book and I never put it out. But then last summer, all of my pets were, passed away. And it was the first time in 24 years that I had no pets anymore. So that was the time that I decided to start finishing my book and moving on with that. And I have so many memories of all the things that happened over all the years that I started to writing it into these books. So Adventures in Dogville is a series. I published my first book in January of this year, which is available on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Ingram Spark. I went to a school, Central Elementary School in Allentown back in March. And there I read to the kids. I donated 4 books to the school. So I plan on doing some more of that. And actually, Barnes and Nobles is having a re-grand opening with their new store. So I'm probably going to be doing a book signing there for their grand opening in June.
Oh, that's
So,
fantastic.
I've been
Yeah.
busy with that. And then on top of that, I started actually probably about a year ago, putting together a tribute band, which is Stevie Nicks, Tom Petty, and Fleetwood Mac. And of course, I played the Stevie Nicks part. So we're actually performing our first show on my birthday, July 20th, at the Roxy Theater in Northampton, PA, from 1 to 3 p.m. And that's going to be filmed in front of a live audience. It is open to the public. Originally, I was going to do it by invitation only. And then I changed my mind. So I made it open to the public. And we're going to be shooting a lot of photos and video there for promo and stuff like that. So I decided, and I will be inviting press and stuff like that to the event.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. And this is the time I get to embarrass you a little bit. You were an Ivory Snow baby,
Yes, I was.
weren't you?
Yes, I was an Ivory Snow baby.
And that was your first modeling gig, I guess?
It is, and yes, when I was like 4 or 5 years old, my parents had me do some modeling, and then I did do some modeling also as a teenager.
I got started back in music at my college radio station, and we were an alternative rock station, and we played a lot of independent labels. And
Okay.
I'm just wondering nowadays, though, you don't see too many independent labels out there, do you?
Well, I'd say we're actually quite the opposite.
Really?
I'd say there's probably more independent labels than there are, I mean, the big ones, the only people that are really going to get a big label these days, you're talking about, like a Beyonce or Britney Spears or, a Madonna or, Lady Gaga or something like that. It's
Taylor
just,
Swift, yeah.
the scene is so much different now. You know what I mean? And I do work for Music Submit and Music X-Ray, where I critique musicians and bands and things like that, and put them on my show for radio airplay and stuff. So I give them advice, you know what I mean, about how their songs should be. If their song's too long, if the intro is too long, and give them different tips and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just so different. I also have two music publishing companies with one with BMI, Steel Global Entertainment, and Steel Songs Worldwide, which is ASCAP. See, and this is what killed a lot of things because BMI and ASCAP and the venues were charging them thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? They want to charge them thousands of dollars to be able to play their music. So that's why you see a lot of karaoke and stuff like that. This area used to be huge and have a lot of clubs, and that has dwindled down. The 80s, it was booming, and we had like
Mhm.
so many clubs, and we could play like 4 or 5 nights a week, and it's not the case anymore.
That's the same way
I
it is here,
mean, we have
yeah.
the big PPL Center that has the major concerts. I was there in November. Stevie Nicks was playing November 4th. And now they're building the Archer Music Hall. So I'm going to be real interested in that because Crocodile Rock closed their doors a few years ago, sadly. And I did a lot of shows there, a lot of benefits. I performed there myself, seen a lot of concerts there. So the Valley, has changed a lot, but it's just like music in general, you know what I mean? And a lot of artists are really having a hard time of it. And with streaming, when streaming came and stuff like that, that changed the whole ball game too, you know what I mean?
That was my next question, is that the internet has changed a lot of it's opened up a lot of doors for bands that normally you wouldn't hear.
Right.
YouTube
Right.
especially, you can.
And the thing of it is, anybody can put their music out, you know what I mean? Anybody can do their own thing, can be their own label, represent themselves, and maybe have success doing that, you know
So how many shows are you hosting now?
how many shows as
Uh-huh.
far
I mean,
as.
different shows. Like, I mean, I know Steel Pulse TV, Steel Waves Radio. Are
Well,
you?
yeah, Steel Waves Radio, that was my regular radio station. That is the one that I was saying that right now, Steel Waves Radio itself is not doing anything, but we just went to look at a location today. But Steel Pulse TV, that is just basically videos. That's videos of local shows. I also had a local show with my partner Josie Jancy called the Dynamic Diva Show,
Mhm.
and that's where we would feature local artists, and they would come and perform on our shows, and then they would sit down with us and do an interview, and we'd shoot photos and video and stuff like that and promo them. But we haven't done anything with that. I had an accident on December 19th of 2022 where I broke my shoulder and I had to have surgery. So I was out of commission. So we haven't done anything like that. And we did do, and we're going to be doing it again, our own karaoke show called 15 Minutes of Fame Karaoke with the Dynamic Divas, Lexi and Josie. So, it's like trying to, have my hand in a little bit of this and a little bit of that all over the place. You know what I mean?
And you were also, I'm reading your bio here, you became a wardrobe stylist for
Yes,
Model
Model
Mayhem.
Mayhem, yes. Mhm.
I
And I
love the
still
names.
do, I'm still like for when we do shoots, like for Steel Notes magazine, we would bring in my one photographer and we would cast girls in for that. And then I would be the wardrobe stylist and I would put all the outfits together. And really, if I think about it, I've been a wardrobe stylist since the early 80s when I used to dress the guys in my band with all my clothes, you know what I mean? With the zebra stripe and leopard and
Oh
everything and all
yeah.
that.
Oh, you gotta have spandex in there too, you know?
Oh, absolutely. They did. Yeah, they were spandex pants. Yep.
Oh,
Stripe leopard ones. Yep. And
that now you're talking my time, my youth is the spandex pants and tiger stripes and
oh,
oh
absolutely.
gosh.
The 80s, that was my favorite time in music.
Yeah, I mean it just
Yeah.
seems like everybody's dressed alike nowadays. It just seems I mean if I mean it seems like it's denim shirts and blue jeans.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, I'm originally from Philadelphia. All right. So I'll give you a little bit more of my background. As a teenager, I hung a lot at the Spectrum and I got to be friends with the doorman backstage where the bands used to come in. And so that's when I first started meeting a lot of famous rock people like Ozzy Osbourne and Tony Iommi, The Who, Edgar and Johnny Winters.
Oh yeah.
But my favorite band that was back then was the original Alice Cooper group. Okay. So
That's
that's when I
Mothers of
first met.
Invention?
What's that?
Was that the Mothers of Invention? No, that was Frank Zappa, wasn't it?
That's Frank Zappa. Actually,
Yeah.
Frank Zappa is the one that got Alice Cooper going because he was the one that actually produced their first albums. I think
Yeah.
the first two possibly, yeah. But so I met Alice Cooper and his drummer Neil Smith there. And then I went on to hanging out with them in 1990. I'm sorry, 1993. Back there in 1973, down at the Penn's Landing. I don't know if you're familiar with that. There's a showboat
Mm.
in Penn's Landing in Philadelphia, down by the water. And that was the Billion Dollar Babies album. They had an after party there. So, I hung out with them, and stuff like that. So that was the band that really probably did it for me from the time I was like 14 years old. So growing up in Philadelphia and being in the music business and what I was doing, they used to call me movie star because I would show up to school with 8-inch platform heels, with orange satin hot pants and sunglasses, maybe a floppy hat or whatever. So this has been a lifelong thing since I'm 3 years old. Because when my dad first got me started with the hats and the sunglasses, so
Uh-huh.
that's kind of like my trademark. It's always been my whole life. But anyway, so it's been like that, since my youth. But I got involved with, you know, music and the local scene there, up to today. And, you know, it's just, been so different from then till now.
Now we were talking before. I want to make sure I get this straight. Do you have a new book coming out?
Well, Adventures in Dogville came out in January.
January. Okay.
And like I said, and that's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and Ingram Spark. I also published an ebook called The Little Gray Mouse. And now I also published, and that's only an ebook, all right, and that's on Amazon. But I also published The Little Gray Mouse Goes on a Trip. Now that is not on Amazon as of yet. Right now, it's only available on Issue, which is issuu.com. And that's what my magazine is based off of, Issue. And also, you can get it in print on MagCloud, which I always have the links everywhere. I have them on all my pages, my Facebook page, Steele Books on Facebook. I haven't got that onto my website. I have to update my website, my author's website, with some of this new information. So most everything that everything that's current is going to be on Facebook. So whether it's my actual Facebook page or the Steele Books, you know what I mean? Everything that's current will definitely be on Facebook because that's, like I said, where I spend the majority of my time. But then I also put stuff on TikTok. I put stuff on Instagram as well and try to
I
get that
see.
around. So originally, the funny thing is, everything that I write about, that I'm writing about now, as far as like the animals that are turning into children's books, actually comes from real things, like my dog book did. Has my dogs and my cats. So the little gray mouse, that was also brought about from a true thing, because there was a little gray mouse that was on my back porch. I have an enclosed back porch off my kitchen, and it popped out of the recycling can, and it had like an apple core on its head. And I said, wow, the little gray mouse that lives in the house, I think I'm going to write about it. And I did. And I
Yes.
never, really, you know what I mean? And that one was only like 6 to 10 pages long. And then after that, I thought, you know what? I think I like the little gray mouse, and I think I'm going to do more with him too. So originally my only plan was Adventures in Dogville. And that was going to have at least 6 different volumes, you know what I mean? Like different things, because like I said, they're all based off of true things that happen. Now, of course, the book is not 100% factual. I have to, you know what I mean, take liberties to, make it more exciting for kids and stuff like that. But so that's going to be, different things, because like I said, I had 3 dogs and 2 cats. So there'll be branch offs from those as well.
Fantastic.
But
Well, the author's name is Susan Alexxis. Excuse me, Susan Alexxis. Oh gosh, help me out here. I'm having a
that's
senior
okay.
moment.
It's probably, if they look for me under
Steele.
author, it'll just say Alexxis Steele.
Alexis Steele. I was going to
Yeah, it's
say
just
it.
Alexis Steele.
Yeah, yeah, Alexis Steele with 2 X's in Alexis,
Two X's, correct.
Alexxis.
Yes.
And again, Adventures in Dogville, was that
Adventures in Dogville. Yes, it's
Dogville?
available on Amazon.com,
Hmm.
BarnesandNoble.com, and Ingram Spark.
And the little gray mouse and the
That's
little gray.
available. The Little Gray Mouse, the ebook is available on issueissuu.com and also on Amazon. And the Little Gray Mouse that goes on a trip is available on issue ISSUU and also on MagCloud. That's MAGCLOUD.
Well, Alexis, I thank you for being on Lights Camera Author tonight.
Sure. Thank you for having me.